Hello. Welcome again to another interesting lesson in linear programming, and this is going to be our last lesson. Okay? Please don't get tired. We are winding up the topic, and this is one of the lessons that you do not want to miss because the way the questions have been phrased in this exercise or in this lesson, they are different from the way they are usually phrased. So you never know, this is what may come in your exam. So please stay glued and follow what I'm going to be presenting. Okay? As you can see, I'm getting the questions from the textbooks because that is where they get the questions from the exams. So I want us copy down this question, then we'll go through together. Copy down this question, then we're going to go through together. I want you to copy the question. up to the table here. There is a table also that I'm going to show you. And please, I hope I'm going to explain this thing in a manner that it's going to help you understand. Copy even the table as it is here. This was an example in the textbook, so I'll read it with you. Okay, so let's get started. Let's read the question together. I hope you're able to see it. The question reads, a school makes desks and chairs using workshops 1 and 2. So it has 2 workshops. That is 1 and 2. To make a single desk, 1 hour is required in workshop 1 and 2 hours in workshop 2. That is for a desk. Are we together? That is for a desk. And for a chair, 1 hour is required in each workshop. For a chair, 1 hour is required in each workshop. So please follow me. So what this means is that then we proceed. Workshop 1 is available for... Now, it's like this question is contradicting itself. What is in the passage and what is on the table? As you can see here, workshop 1, 4 hours are available. Then workshop 2, 6 hours are available. So I do believe that this was meant to be, the first one should have been workshop 1 is available for 4 hours, whereas workshop 2 is available for 6 hours. Okay? As we are given the information on the table, this explanation I'm trying to give is justified by the information that is supplied on the table here. Okay? The table below shows the production of chairs and desks by 2 workshops. So the hours required per desk, and so you've seen the hours that are required. Then the total for hours available in workshop 2, as you can see here. Okay, workshop 2, it has got 6 hours available. Then workshop 2, workshop 1 has 4 hours. So I think the question should have read just like I mentioned, that there should have been workshop 1 is available for 4 hours, and then workshop 2 is available for 6 hours. Then we have a profit here. Okay, take note of this. But then all this information is supplied in the passage. But there are times when this information is just given, this information is just given on the table, as you are going to see in other questions. Please stay glued and follow what I'm going to be demonstrating. Okay, so now we want to start, and I want you to read just like you've read already here. And then here we are lucky, the information was given in 2 folds, in a word form here, as well as being summarized on the table. So I want you to consider both cases where the question can be given. Sometimes the question would be given straight away, the information will be given on the table. So from the table, we would need to come up with the inequalities. Okay? So here, this is what we are supposed to do. Remember that this question is from a textbook, so it may not have all the information that we are given, like those that I presented from the past papers. So you know here, of course, that the first thing that we are supposed to do, if you can read even on this question here, we need to formulate a mathematical model for this given information. A mathematical model are inequalities or the constraints. Okay, that is what we are supposed to do. So when we form those, we always have to write them on the what? On the graph paper. Because this information, all of it must be on the graph paper. So we need to write our inequalities here. Now, I can either get them straight away from the passage, or I can use the what? The table. The table is given here. I hope you're able to see. So, for workshop 1, remember that here we have got what? We've got chairs, and chairs are given by the number of desks. We've got desks, and then desks are represented by X. Take note of that. Then chairs are represented by Y. Okay. I hope you are getting that point. So now what we are supposed to do in this case is that we need to write this one here as an inequality. So we are going to say X plus Y, because we have 1 hour of each there. 1 hour is required there. Then the total number of hours that are available for workshop 1. We are looking at workshop 1 just. The total number that is available for workshop 1 is what? As you can see, it's 4. The total number of hours available for workshop 1 is 4. So we can't go beyond 4. It could either be equal to 4 or less. Okay? So this is the first inequality that we are supposed to have. This is the first inequality that we are supposed to have. Okay? Then we do the same thing for this part. So here we have 2 what? 2x plus y. I hope you're seeing the second one. What are we talking about? 2 hours, as you can see on the table. Okay, a desk is supposed to spend, or it will take 2 hours in workshop 1 and 1 hour. 2 hours in workshop 2 and 1 hour. We are saying a desk is going to take 2 hours in the second workshop, and a chair is going to take 1 hour in the second workshop. Okay? So meaning the combination here that we have is that 2 hours, that is going to 2 hours for a desk plus 1 hour for a chair. And then the total number of hours available in the second workshop is this one. So we can't consume more than this one. So this is how we should write the other inequality. And please, like I'm trying to explain here, the bottom line should be this, the passage here. You can read and get the information from the passage, or this table must be enough for you here. And it was properly summarized. These variables were assigned here. Okay, your X represents the number of what? Desks. Okay, that is what we are supposed to know. Where there's X, we're talking about the number of desks. Where there's Y, we're talking about the number of what? Chairs. So the number of chairs requires 1 hour a chair requires 1 hour in the second workshop, and also in the first workshop it requires 1 hour. Then for the desk, it requires 1 hour in the first workshop and 2 hours in the second workshop. So how do we write the inequalities? We have to add this then and consider the total number of hours that are available. It's the same thing here. This is the question that was in 2020 exam was similar to this part. Okay, so now this is the only information that we have been given here. This is the only information that we have been given here. We haven't been told in the passage how many desks were made, how many chairs were made. And if you remember in the previous lessons, I did explain that there are times when you can be given such a case where it is silent on the number of desks that were made. as well as the number of chairs that were made. Now, since this person had to make both chairs and desks, please follow me. The truth is that they can't make a negative chair. So it is either for X, they made, it could be 0 or greater than 0, the number of chairs that were made here. For Y, it will also be the same case. How many chairs were made? We don't know. So this is how we are going to write the inequality. This is how we are going to write the inequality. The inequality must be written in this form. We don't know how many were made, and the question is very silent on this part. But these are things that had to be made, desks and chairs. So now, when we begin to itemize them, how many desks were made? We do not know because the question is not very clear on that. So we need to write our inequality in this form. And if you have been following these lessons, we have not had such a case in the previous examples. That is why I thought I should give it to you, because of this case and also how we should form the inequalities here. If you're looking at this question especially, it's different from the others that we have dealt with. Okay, so we need now to continue. Take note of this. Where this has not been specified, we need to have this case. We need to have this case here. I hope you have gotten my point, where, like the emphasis I'm mentioning, that the emphasis of this lesson and what makes it different from the others that I've given you is this part. Okay? And I can actually take you back to where I mentioned this type of equations. Okay, so I gave you these notes in the previous lessons, but I just want you to read with me here, where they're saying some inequalities are not explicitly given or provided in the information, and the student has to use common sense to come up with them. For example, if one has to deal with a commercial problem involving some money, and if the money used is X, the money is not, we don't know how much was used. This is what I'm trying to talk about, like in this question. We don't know how many chairs were made, isn't it? So then we are supposed to have this case. And this is an explicit inequality. So this is the case that I'm explaining here. This is the case that I'm explaining in our case here on these inequalities. Okay? Because if they told you to say write the 4 inequalities, you're going to start looking for these 2. Where do you get them? So that is why I was saying you need to use common sense there. This is one thing that I really wanted to emphasize here. We're talking about chairs and desks. How many desks were made? We don't know. So it could be 0 or more than 0, because we can't go into negatives. The same thing for this one. Okay? The same thing for this one. Then the other information that I wanted us to emphasize is that if you are given a question that has to do with the hours, stuff like that, like this one, the way it has been given, this one, how do you combine it to come up with the inequality? Sometimes the information could just be given in the passage straight away like that, except that this one, I think the information was not properly given here. Okay? Then you also come to this. There are times when what will be given to you is the table. Then you need to come up with the inequalities here. How do you do it? Now, there is also one thing that I'm supposed to emphasize. In this case, we have the profit per desk and the chair. The profits are given here. In some tables, the profits will be given down. So we also need to come up with the profit objective. We need to come up with the objective function, which is the profit. And what do we have here? For X or desks is what? 550, which is what? X, plus 475Y. This must give us what? The profit. This is the profit function, or what we call objective function. Okay? So this is how we can come up with. Please take note. This question is unique from the rest of the questions that we have handled. So I want you to take time now. So now, after we have done this, you know that if it were in an exam, we'll be asked to graph these. We'll be asked to graph these. So that is what I'm going to do here, because I want to present the question in full. I want to present this question in full. So we go to the graph paper. We go to the graph paper here. Okay. So we are going to have, this. Okay, now I'm mentioning that this is not an exam where we are given instructions to say 2 centimeters to represent 2 units or what, like that. This is not an exam. So here we can look at the information that we are given and use estimations. So we can say 2 centimeters to represent 1 unit. So if 2 centimeters is representing 1 unit, this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. And remember that this is our what? Our x-axis. Then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I hope you are following me. Okay, so now what are we supposed to do now here? We go back to our inequalities. We start shading the unwanted region. The rule is that what do we shade? We shade the unwanted region. Okay, so at this point now, what are we supposed to do? We get the first one. This is in terms of an equation. This is what is this? This is y is equals to 0. Y is equals to 0. It is this point here. Y is equals to 0 along the x-axis. So we need to shade the unwanted region. The region that we want is the greater region. So the region that is below, it is less. So we need to shade this unwanted region. This is the region that we are supposed to shade here. This is the unwanted region here. This is the unwanted region. Okay, this is the unwanted region. Again, we come to this part. X is equal or less. X is greater. X is greater than or equal to 0. X is greater than or equal to 0. So where are we? We are looking at the greater part, this one. So we need to shade the unwanted region, this one. Okay? Okay, so this is what we are supposed to do. Then the next thing, we come back to this one. And this one, even in the previous lessons, I have emphasized that where we have this case, where we have 2 variables, we need to come up with a set of coordinates. This, I have emphasized it even in the previous lessons. Where we have x and y, we need just to come up with this. Then our equation is going to be x is equals to 4 in terms of an equation. I'm looking at this one, the first one. So we need to come up with the coordinates here. So we are saying if x is equals to 0, where there is x here, if we put 0, what will be y? Y will be 4. And again, if y is 0, what will be x? X will be 4. So we plot this part now. So the coordinates that we are carrying is what? 0, 4 and 4, 0. 0, 4 and 4, 0. 0, 4 is this point here. And then 4, 0 is this point here. So we need to join these 2 lines. We need now to join these 2 lines. These 2 points, these 2 points, we join them like this. And remember that this, in terms of an equation, it's what? It's x plus y is equals to 4. This part, this line. So what are we talking about here? If you look at our inequation, we want the less part. We want the less part. Okay, the greater part is what we are going to shade. So we shade this part here. This part is unwanted. This part is So that is what we are supposed to do. This part is unwanted. Then we are remaining with this one. So this one, we do the same thing also. We need the coordinates. How is it going to be? It is 2x plus y is equals to 6. That's how we're going to put it. So we also do the same thing, x and y. So I'm saying if x is equals to 0, when we put 0 here, this is going to be 0, so y will be 6. I like using that. So if y is equals to 0, if y is equals to 0, take note, this part becomes 0. What do you remain with? You remain with 2x is equals to 6. So you need to divide now this, also divide this. So x will be equals to 3. So this is going to be 3 here. Okay? So we can have those 2 points. The first one is what? 0,6. 0,6 is this point here. That is 0,6. Then the second one is what? 3,0. 3,0 it's this point here. 3,0 is this point here. So we need also to join these two lines. These 2 points. I mean, these 2 points like this. Again, what are we shading? We are shading the unwanted region here. We are shading the unwanted region. I said if you want to write this as an equation, it's what? 2x plus y is equal to 6 as an equation. Then we need now to shade the unwanted region. The unwanted region is this region here. Okay, remember we have already shaded, so it goes on like that. This is the unwanted region. So you've seen now the region. This is what we are calling the feasible region. The feasible region. Okay, this is what we are calling the feasible region here. So now this is where the coordinates, this is where we're going to get the coordinates that will give us the profit maximization. Now the easier way that we do, we pick the coordinates in the corners of this region, which are this one. What are the coordinates here? It's 0,4, or we can start with this one here, which is 0,0. 0,0. Then we have got what? This one, which is 0,4. Then we come to this one, which is 2,2. This point here is 2,2. This one, this is 2,2. Then the last one, which is this one here, is 3,0. 3,0. So this process, we have explained it in the previous lessons, and I'm sure by now we are, because this is our 7th lesson and the last lesson of the topic. So I'm sure we don't have a problem with this part. So what are we supposed to do? So by now, I'm sure you know that we are supposed to put all these, where there is x, these are x coordinates, the first ones, and these are y coordinates. So we need now to start putting all these in this one. Just like the example, of course, the first one we're going to get 0. To be 5, 0 multiplied by 0 plus 475 multiplied by 0 here. When you multiply this, what do you get? You get 0, of course, so that we won't even go with it. Okay? And again, if you look at this one, okay, if you look at this one, the first part will be 0. Okay? The first part will be 0, then we'll just multiply the second part by 4. If you look at this one also, the second part will be 0, we just multiply this one by 4. So now, the idea, as you saw from the previous lessons, we need to do this process for all these coordinates. Then we find the values here. What values do we get? Then those values that we're going to get, we're going to check. We are going to check. Please get me clearly. We're going to check. If the question talks about maximum profit, okay, or maybe let's finish. Okay, so this is what we are supposed to get when you work it out. I hope you are able to see these figures here. When you work it out, you're going to get these figures here. Okay, so what are we seeing? The highest one is this one, 2050. So this is 2050 kwacha. Now, which coordinates gave us 2050 kwacha? Is 2,2. So the question here should be the maximum profit. The maximum profit is 2050. and 50 kwacha. And to maximize profit, it means the school must make 2 chairs or 2 desks and 2 chairs. 2 desks and 2 chairs. I think from the previous lesson, this part I've already emphasized it. Then if we were talking about minimizing, if the question was on minimization, usually we always go for the lowest here and then we pick the coordinates this side. Okay? Except that in this case we have a 0, 0, but in some cases where you don't have, when you have done these calculations here, you are going, if the question was talking about minimization, especially usually when we're talking about cost, we're talking about, you have to minimize cost. So you go for that, the coordinates that gave you the minimum cost will be the lowest amount here. Then the combination of factors or resources will be that one which will give you the lowest from this side. I think this is what we are supposed to get, and this is what I felt I should explain on this question, especially where we have it different from the most of the questions that I've seen from the past papers, or if you have been following from the other lessons that I've presented. I think on this part I have already explained, and you have gotten the point. Okay, so the only thing that is remaining now, I think, is to see which questions we can do. So I want you to do this question as an exercise. I hope you are able to see it. This question is in this textbook, grade 12, Zambia Secondary School Syllabus, Mathematics Pupils Book. What grade? Grade 12. Okay. Go to page what? 19. There is this question here. There is this question that I want you to copy. Please don't take it for granted. Then you try to answer it. Now, like I was saying there, our profit is what? Is this? These are our profits here. Okay? So you are going to look at the combination of this one and this one. Of course, will be your X, this will be your Y. Then the total, as you've seen, available amount is this one. The same thing here. This is our X, this is our Y. Then the total. Then don't forget that part which we mentioned for X and Y. Don't forget that part. Those that X where you equate them to, please read the questions and understand. And that part don't understand where you need to use common sense to come up with the inequalities. So the question reads here. I don't know if it continues the other side. Okay, yeah, it does continue. So I hope you've captured it here. I mean, you have managed to copy it and it's clear. Okay, so let me show you the other part. The last part is this part here. Find the number of desks and chairs which should be made to maximize the total cost from the furniture. So the process is the same. The process is the same. Okay, and as you go through these questions, please try by all means to be practicing them in preparation for exam. Okay, I think I saw another question somewhere which I'm supposed to give you. And I think it was a good question. What was that question talking about? I think these questions, okay, it's this one. Okay, I want you to pay attention to this question. This question will also need you to use common sense, because when you read the question, say write down where, write down 4 inequalities. 4 inequalities. Now, when you read in the passage, the inequalities that are clearly indicated, they're just 2. So you need to find the other 2, those ones where you use common sense. Okay? Those ones, please make sure. Then the process is the same. The process is the same. Okay? I think in the previous lessons I've given you these questions before, but I can still give it to you. And let me also give you the question that I said, which was very common, like what they brought in this exam. It was very similar to these things that we are from talking about. This is 2020, December. This question, I think I've given you in the previous lessons, but read this question. Okay, it's very similar to what we are from talking about, but this was in the exam, so the information is fully given. Maybe in the previous lessons where I gave you even had difficulties to understand it or to handle it, but after this one you should be able to have less difficulties and handle the question. Okay, this one, this was the final exam. Okay, we can also have this one as the last one from the same textbook. Okay, this brings us to the end of linear programming. Remember, these things are very simple. You're just supposed to make sure that you go through them, you practice as many times as you can until you're perfect. Okay, nobody is meant to do these things. All of us can do them. You can even do them better. The only key thing is practice. I keep showing you the sources of these questions so that if you have, you can easily go there and find them. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this lesson as well as the topic linear programming. All right, so remember that this channel is providing Zambian secondary mathematics from grade 8 up to 12. From grade 8 up to 12. So it is a full-time class for mathematics. We are not providing revisions or piecemeal lessons. We are providing a full syllabus from grade 8 to 12. So look out, just go through all our videos. You'll be able to realize that what I'm telling you is what we are doing. So like for linear programming, this was my last lesson for the topic. Okay, so there are 7 of them. There are 7 of the lessons that are presented under linear programming. All right, there are 7 of them. Okay, so make sure that you go through all of them and prepare yourself for exam. I wish you good luck as you prepare for the exams, and make sure you subscribe to this channel and share with your friends. Okay, thank you so much. Don't forget to comment below there and subscribe to the channel. All right.